Good evening, YouTube family. T.O. here with Simplistic Fishing. Hey, tonight we've got to finish up Bob Sandlin. We're going into Zone 2 of the Google Earth waypoints. And if you'd missed my video this weekend, we finally got the SD cards in. So if you want all these waypoints on the SD card for either Humminbird, Garmin, or Lawrence, we can do that for you. Just go out to simplisticfishing.square.site. That is our site where you can purchase these cards. I'll put a link in the video description as well. Let's get started. Bob Sandlin, here we go. All right, so if you missed the first video on Bob Sandlin, we actually went over Zone 1. So Zone 1 would be this side of the lake, kind of the southwest, I guess you could say, side of Bob Sandlin. So we've already covered Zone 1. If you missed that, just click the link at the top. That'll take you back in there and show you Zone 1. So tonight, we're going to dive into Zone 2. So we're going to go more on the northeastern side of the lake. Let's go ahead and just start right here where we left off in Zone 1. We did that little creek channel that was back there, if you remember that. So we're going to start right here, and we're just going to move our way up and then go around. So Zone 2, first thing I notice here, just a couple things inside of here. One, we've got a boat ramp and some isolated stumps. But before I do that, let me back off and show you guys the timeline here. I believe we were in 12, yeah. October of 2012 was one of the best images that I could find. If we go back to 2009, it's kind of blurry. It's not very good. And then if we go to 2015, I believe that was when the lake actually started to come up. So it's taken forever to come in here, but you can see, can't really tell a lot from Google Earth on this. But if we go back to October 2012, it looks really, really good. So here we've got the boat ramp that I talked about. You've also got some isolated stumps, almost like a secondary point here coming in to the back of this cove. So this could be a really good spot to look and see if they're setting up in this area. Always good spots to look, especially when they're isolated like that. Kind of coming down here, there were some more scattered timber. I did talk about this in the last video as well. This lake has a lot of laydowns. And some of the laydowns are very isolated. And in that case, I went ahead and marked those isolated laydowns. But in the cases where the laydowns were actually, there were abundance of them along the bank line, I went ahead and just left those alone and maybe just put, laydowns along the bank line, meaning that they're pretty much everywhere along this certain bank line. So you'll see that as we go along. Just wanted to point that out. All right, so I'm going to move back up in here in this pocket. And what we have up here is a real nice defined creek channel. You can see here, it goes way back in here. And I'm not sure that when the lake's up, that might actually get all the way back in there. Let's see, it takes it a minute to get on 2015 for some reason. It takes a minute to zoom in here. So you could get back in there. You can probably see the creek channel once you get far enough back in there. But as far as being up in here, you wouldn't really know that there was a creek channel there. So this is going to be really good when you go get the card, put it on your graphs. You'll know exactly where these creek channels are. You can fish the things around the creek channel as well as the creek channel itself. And I believe you're going to have a lot of success there. You've heard me preach about creek channels a lot. Focus on those. They are keys to catching fish. All right. Also got another boat ramp here. And then moving on up, there was another boat ramp that was kind of hidden in here in the trees. I'd love to have that guy's pond, by the way. Another boat ramp here hidden in the trees. So that could be good if you're on that boat ramp pattern. Some more laydowns here along this bank line. You can see there's a few here you could mark. I don't know how deep those are going to be. Those look like they might be fairly shallow. This laydown looked pretty good, and it was fairly isolated off the way from this point. So you got a laydown on this point too. But you got another one here. I'll kind of zoom in here to show you. There's a lot going on in this point actually, but I did like that laydown. Probably should have marked that one too. It goes pretty far down in there. All right, I'm going to zoom back up, and we're going to continue to go up this bank line until we get up here. We have another boat ramp that's in here. A lot of empty stuff. Not really a lot to mark from Google Earth on some of these bank lines. And then other bank lines, I just found a ton of stuff. Another good point here that you definitely want to fish. And then if we look on this bank line, we do have some laydowns here. So notice how I put laydowns instead of just a lay down. And that means we've got multiple ones in this area. So you can see here we've got 3 different laydowns here, very good. And then 3 more right up in here. These are probably a little shallower, but these actually go in and have some pretty good depth. And there's actually a little dark spot right there. So that could be a potential brush pile too. So check out this area when you go out there. That could be a good spot to take a look at. All right, and then this is what I was talking about earlier, where sometimes you get in here and you'll just find there's just laydowns all up and down the bank line. And in this case, this entire bank line has a lot of good laydowns. You got one here, you got a couple here, a couple more here, another one here. I mean, they're just everywhere. So that can be a really good one, bank line to focus on if they're on that laydown pattern. If they're on the wood and they're on that structure that's actually more horizontal and down in the water, not vertical, these could be great bank lines to focus on. Got some pretty good pockets back in here, but not a lot going on from a waypoint standpoint. There was a boat ramp that was back in here, so again, if you're running that boat ramp pattern, that'd be a good one to go look at. And then up here, we have a really good, really well-defined creek channel that actually hugs up against the bank pretty good too. So that always makes it a lot easier to fish when they're like that. So look here, I went ahead and marked it for you. It comes from back here, and then it just kind of makes this little S around here. That dock is really close to that creek channel. So if you get up here and you see that dock, you're going to know you're close to it. But again, if you buy those cards, these points will just show up on your graph, so you'll know you can fish around these points. All right, so moving on down, we've also got the boat ramp here. We've got another brush pile that really stuck out here off of this point. You can see it; it's pretty well defined underneath the water. Looks really juicy. Not sure what it is, but it definitely looks like a good sized brush pile. You crappie fishermen, you probably already know about that brush pile, and probably mad at me for uncovering it. All right, so moving on up the bank line here, not too much going on in those areas, but did find a pond dam that was up in here. And you always hear me talk about these pinch points, right? If you can find that pond dam and then find the pinch points, that's when you have those little breaks. So you can see these breaks are pretty significant here. So this would be a good area to take a look at, right around in here, right around this pond dam. If we move it up to 2015, you can tell that you wouldn't even know there was a pond dam there, but it's definitely there, definitely something you would want to take a look at. All right, I'm gonna zoom back out here. We're gonna go on down this bank line and go over and go up. I like this point. I didn't mark it, but I do like this point, and I do like how there's a nice hard spot on the top of that point. So take a look at this when you're out there. That could be a good area to look at. In fact, let's go ahead and just mark that thing right now. We're just gonna call it a hard spot, just so that you go out there and take a look at it, because I could see that being really good. You always like those points that come out and they're flat and they come way out into the lake. So that is a really good point to look at. This is also a good point out here to take a look at. We'll talk about this when we break down the navionics side, but anytime you see something like this where that point comes way out into the water, and it stays pretty shallow, that's where you get your shell beds. That's where they come up and they feed. Those are all just great areas to go look at. So, focus on this point and focus on this point. There's some laydowns up here. You'll see some pretty good laydowns in here. Some additional laydowns up here that looked really good. And then we get up to the dam. So basically just some riprap up here. This is actually the Monticello Dam. So not sure how much you guys know about these lakes up here, but Lake Monticello used to be my favorite lake. They actually shut it down, so you can't get to it anymore. Rumor has it that you can get to it for kayaks. And if that's true, I think I might even go buy a kayak just to fish that lake. That lake is so epic. They've got giants there. The good news is that the rumor has it that all of the big fish, they released a ton of water from Monticello, and all those big fish actually ended up in Sandlin. If that is true, Sandlin's going to be a great lake for sure. And the Monticello thing, if any of you guys know, please let me know, because I would love to go fish that lake again. I really miss it. All right, we got some additional rocks going on right here off of this point. Looks like a really good point to fish. Then again, just moving up here, we've got another boat ramp and a brush pile that's kind of hidden out here. It's a little ways off this point. This looks like a fairly shallow point. You can tell by how brown it is right around it. But that brush pile really sticks out. You can see as this thing starts to get more defined, that brush pile sticks out like a sore thumb. So good stuff. And if we pull it out to 2015 and look at that brush pile, you're not even going to know it's there. So definitely something you're going to have to scan for if you don't have this card, the card or the points. But if you have the card, that'll be there, and you'll be able to just roll right up to it and drop a lure in the water and see what happens. All right, so going on up here, I didn't really mark this little ditch. I guess you could mark it if you want. If you want, just take the link to the waypoints and add that in, but I didn't really mark it. It didn't look good enough to mark, so I just left it alone. Then here you've got some good riprap, obviously all along there that you could fish. You've got laydowns that are back in here. A really good laydown. I like it because it's isolating. Now, there's not all those other laydowns around here, so that one's all by itself. So that can always be a good thing when they're by themselves. Coming up here, you've got a couple more laydowns in here. And then laydowns off of this point. So another pretty good point. You know, this one's pretty long, pretty wide, but look at all these laydowns right on the edge of this point. So again, if that's the pattern that they're on, you can just run laydowns off of all these points and really, you know, have a heyday because you'll know exactly where they all are. Moving up here, you've got a really significant pond dam. So I went ahead and marked the pond dam because you've got the breaks of the pond dam on both sides, right? And then you also have that pinch point that we talk about that you always want to take a look at. So I went ahead and marked all of those. And let's take a look at this again. If we move this up to 2015, I mean, this could do some wreck to your boat, I would imagine, because that's probably pretty shallow. But there is that opening that you can get in there. So you could probably fish in here, but definitely focus around that pond dam, especially come summertime. Start looking in those areas like that where you see pond dams and things like that. Also post spawn, you know, where pretty much we're in right now, they could be staging up here, not staging, but setting up here as they move back to the water. All right, so we're gonna move on up. We're going to continue to go on up this bank line. We've got some really good islands and things we'll talk about on Navionics that I really liked. You've got some rocks along this bank line that were hidden. I like this because if you look, everything around it, you know, there's really nothing. And then all of a sudden you've just got these rocks that are here. So I really like that, how it changes. And I like how it looks like it's got some pretty good depth in that area too. The only thing that concerns me is this right here. I don't know if these are buoys or what they are, saying stay away or not. Maybe they're not. They don't really look like they are. So I'm hoping you guys can fish that area. All right, I'm going to move on up. We've got some additional laydowns here, or just one laydown, I guess I should say. And then we're going to get up here where the back of this pocket. I don't see too much going on in here. There were some ditches and things like that going on back here, but this was kind of a little bit of a mess. I mean, it could be a good springtime area, but nothing really that I could mark from a Google Earth waypoint standpoint. Did have some brush piles that were on here, right off the edge of this point. You can see it. Actually, you can't see it because my mark is in the way. But if we look right here, I got a real good brush pile right there. So we'll put that mark back on there. Yeah, crappie fishermen, that could be a great place to take a look at. All right, moving on up. We're gonna go around this bank line. No, pretty decent point here. Nothing too crazy that I could see. Sorry about that. My dogs just decided to attack each other. And then moving on over here, we go into where there's another boat ramp here, and there's a weed line that's right here that's real significant. So again, this is probably some pretty shallow stuff. If I move up to 2015, you can't really get back. My apologies, my dogs decided to attack each other right in the middle of my videos. So always something new. You never know what you're going to get, especially when you're doing live videos. So anyways, really like the cover that's back here in the back of this. So good stuff to flip around, things like that. And then as we move on here, we go back, we have another boat ramp that's right in here and another boat ramp right in this area. And then we're going to go ahead and just move over. We've got a couple more boat ramps here. We've got one boat ramp there. We've got a brush pile that's out here that looks really cool. So let's take a look at that one. It's kind of hidden out here. Crappie people are going to be happy again. Boom. See that brush pile? It's either a brush pile or a rock pile or a stump or something, but it's very isolated. So I really like it. So I went ahead and marked it. And then I'm going to keep moving on here. You got some more weed lines back in here. Just, you know, nothing too crazy, but these can be really good spots for them to set up an ambush bait and stuff like that. So this could be a really good pocket to take a look at. You know, I don't know if this weed line is going to do you guys any good or not, but it'll definitely help you set up and understand where you need to place your lure, because you want to just ambush the sides or cast down the sides of those weed lines. That's going to be your best approach. All right, so I'm going to keep on moving out. And here we've got another boat ramp. Nothing crazy. It looks like the public boat ramp. You got a couple different boat ramps there. Coming up here, I did find some shallow rock in here. I'm not sure if you'll be able to fish in here or not. This looks like one of those power plant things. It doesn't look like it has any buoys around it saying to stay out. So you might be able to get up in there, but definitely some really shallow rock. If we pull the lake up, you'll see it's really not that deep. It just barely comes off the side, but it could be an area to take a look at, especially if they're on that shallow rock pattern. So moving on here, you got some scattered rock, but nothing too crazy to take a look at. You got a boat ramp in here. You got a good pond right here. I didn't even see. Another boat ramp that's there as well. Then if we go back in here, we start seeing another weed line. And you'll see it pretty significant. It's got a pretty good drop too, so pretty good drop off the edge of that weed line. Looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and move that up again. You can tell that weed line's a little bit off the bank here, so it would be a good one to take a look at for sure. Probably have some better depth to it at least, or, to give you something different to look at. All right, so I'm going to move on out here. We're going to go on down the bank line. Not seeing too much here. You've got the dam. Probably got some riprap that you could be fishing right here along that dam. And then if we get back in here, this is where you really start seeing rocks. So I think that dam is just that concrete stuff, so it's not really riprap, so I just misspoke, my apologies. But if you get down in here, you do have some additional rocks and things that are in here. Real good rock pile or brush pile or something going on. It looks like rocks. You got some additional shallow rocks along this bank line, and then some really good large rocks right here on this little point here before you get into the back of this pocket. So this could be a real good spot, especially if that water comes up. I'm not sure how, let's look and see how much that water, oh yeah, the water comes up and covers them. Definitely a good spot to take a look at. All right, we're gonna keep moving. Again, we got those large rocks again and a lay down, so rocks and a lay down, that's a pretty good combination. Looking back in this pocket, you just got a boat ramp back here. You do have a real nice rocky bank line that's off of this point. So definitely a good spot. Then we're gonna move on here. We got more rocks along this bank line and some additional rocks right here. You can see them as I zoom in. These are actually off the seawall just a little bit. So it looks like you've got like some kind of break behind these rocks. That can always be real interesting to find stuff like that, where you've got rocks and then an empty space and then a seawall. They might just be hugging right in there. You can just pitch in there between those. It could be really good. Boat ramp there. Move it on down. We got some additional rocks that are hidden in here. You can see them along that bank line. You got some more rocks along this bank line. I don't think there was too much back behind that. Oh, my apologies. There is a boat ramp back here. So take a look at that boat ramp. And then move up here and you've got some more rocks. Rocks around this dock on both sides. So good areas to look at, especially if you're doing the shallow crankbaits, shaky heads, stuff like that, Texas rigs. Boat ramp here. Another brush pile that was kind of out here in the open. Boat ramp here, more rocks. And then moving back here, we got another boat ramp. So bunch of points right in that area. Really, if you're on a rock pattern, you can run around there and just hit all those rocks, hit the boat ramps. It'd be a really good pattern to run, like a hard type pattern. So you got another boat ramp in here. You got some large rocks that were back in here as well. They really stick out like a sore thumb because there's really nothing else in here, that's that big a rock. And then all of a sudden you've got these really huge rocks right around this little point that sticks out. So that, again, could be a good area to take a look at. And then you got a boat ramp that's over here as well. So let's move back here and see what we got back here. So as we get back in here, obviously pretty shallow. You're going to have to be really careful. There's probably trees and stuff, so you're just going to have to idle back in here. But if you want to come back in here and take a look at this creek channel, I did mark it for you guys, and it looks really, really good. Let's give it a second to catch up with me because I think it's taking a minute to hone in here, but you can see we got a real good creek channel going through these trees. And this is a spot where you're probably not going to see a lot of people fishing back there because they're going to be intimidated by all the trees. But that can also be a spot where you can catch a ton of fish. So don't be scared to go back in here. Just be careful. Don't tear up your equipment getting back in there. And sometimes those can be really, really great spots to take a look at. All right, I'm going to move up here and go back up here to this point. Up here, we've got some more shallow rocks along this point, you can see. And I'm going to move on over to to the bridge up here. You've got a large laydown that's right here by that, close to the bridge. Really good size. And then moving on down here, we've got some more rocks. Right off the edge of here, these are big ones. And these are kind of staged up weird. I don't know if there's something back behind those trees. Maybe this is a little creek coming out of here or something. I don't know. I can't tell. But definitely some really large rocks right here in this area. Then we're going to move on down. We've also got some more laydowns here. You actually got 3 of them. 1, 2, and 3. All horizontal, which is nice. And then some additional laydowns right off this point. You can see, got some stick-ups, but then you also have a laydown right in the middle of those stick-ups. Those can always be good too. Nice little high spot there to take a look at. And then going back in here, we've got another creek channel that was back in this pocket. This one's pretty significant because way back in here, but you can follow it all the way out. And again, fish in those areas, scan in those areas, look in those areas. Those are good areas to catch fish. All right, we've also got some additional rocks that are right up here. Real good heavy rocks that come pretty far off the bank. Scooting back over, got some more stuff in here. Got a really large laydown here. We've also got rocks here in this area. And then there's some more additional rocks that are kind of hidden back in here from the shade, but you can see the silhouette of them, so you know there's some rocks right around in this area. And additional rocks along this entire bank line, you can see shallow rocks, kind of just marked rocks there, and then shallow rocks here. And then there's a drain pipe that's out here as well that look pretty good. So I went ahead and marked that because there's a couple of them that come out there, so maybe you get some pretty good water flow coming out there. Some additional rocks along this bank line, same thing here. And then we get over here to where we get to the boat ramp. We're almost done. Get over here, we got a boat ramp here and a boat ramp over here. So that really covers us for Zone 2. Again, our SD cards are available now. So if you want to purchase one of these cards, you can. It will include Zone 1 and Zone 2. Just go to simplisticfish.square.site and we'll get you set up. I'll put the link in the video description as well. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And again, everyone, tight lines. We'll talk to you soon.